Hello and welcome to the KE Report. Chad and Corey here, getting an update from Goliath Resources. Traded on the TSX.V under the ticker GOT and on the OTCQB under the ticker GOTRF. And we are today speaking with the founder, CEO, and director of Goliath Resources, Roger Rosmus. And Roger, it's great getting you on the show just to get an update on Goliath Resources. I want to kick things off today with the technical report that your team put out about a month ago on March 4th. And in that report, they delineated a total of 10 veins on your Golddigger property in the Golden Triangle of British Columbia. Now, we've talked about a couple of these veins a number of times in the past: the Surebet Zone, the Bonanza Shear Zone, and the newly discovered Golden Gate Zone that you found at the end of last drill season. In January, you also announced the identification of the Jackpot Zone at depth, which is pretty exciting, and we'll get into that. But there are 6 new veins on here we've never discussed before. The big one, Dorado, Surebet Lower, Goldzilla, Hotspot, and Whopper. And I would love you just to dig into this technical report and share the key takeaways you'd like investors to know that your team has delineated on the Golddigger property.
Sure. I'll take it from a non-technical for myself. The key takeaway is we initially thought we had 3 different horizons, the Surebet, Bonanza, and then the Golden Gate, all in the volcanics. So what I'm most excited about, and also the team, is that the Bonanza does sit in between the contact between the volcanics below and the sediments above, but as it dips off to the southeast, it actually is going into the volcanics towards that jackpot showing that you mentioned. So that's pretty interesting stuff. So possibly the theory is maybe that is the feeder or part of the feeder zone leading towards that jackpot where we got that 21.5 ounce sample that we took that ran, pretty high grade copper as well. I think it was about 8% copper. And that jackpot actually sits entirely in the volcanics. And that's there's about 500 meters of strike, 400 meters of vertical relief. And, we're planning on drill testing it this year. So, and then I guess, secondly, now we've got a total of 10 vein structures. So what does that do for us? It provides, I guess, a potential additional tonnage for the entire system. So, I mean, right now, the conceptual modeling with the veins they're indicating a range of anywhere between 78 to potentially 97 million potential tons of material. And, if the system consistently shows, average grade kind of around that 5 or 6 grams gold equivalent, of which, 85 to 90% of that is primarily gold and some silver, and then you've got copper, lead, zinc. I mean, that's pretty substantial. Of note, though, again, as we're getting closer to the valley floor, certainly the pierce points, is we're seeing higher grades of concentration of copper, the bismuth and antimony, which gives us certainly indicators that we're a lot more proximal to that source, that feeder, or the feeder, be it a porphyry or whatever, that this intrusive related system. And that'll be part of the drill program for 2024 is really drilling down below the valley floor. Because right now, based on drilling to date, we've only really touched the tip of the iceberg in relation to we've drilled from the tip of the mountain to the base of the mountain and not really below the valley floor. So below the valley floor again will be tested this year. Hasn't really been tested up until this point, which could really be, a significant game changer for the company here if we do drill into that feeder zone, which, I mean, currently with what we have is pretty amazing, but to even, to tack on the feeder source, that would be exponential in relation to evaluation, in my opinion.
So, Roger, just looking at these 6 new gold veins, all of them have multiple pierce points from past drilling, and we're seeing a variation of grades here. Dorado, Surebet Lower, as well as Whopper, all above 10 grams per ton gold equivalent. Big one, Goldzilla, Hotspot, those are a little bit lower grade here, but again, it's still early stage just for these veins. how do you go about prioritizing which veins you drill, or can you attack multiple of these veins in individual drill holes?
Yeah, good question. Well, just the nature of the beast here. I mean, they're all stacked in some way or another, and we are able to hit multiple veins with one drill hole, which is great. Just the way these horizons are layered upon themselves. And for some of the lower grade veins, I guess, it's a matter of getting additional pierce points, which could, we could drill, a meter to the east or west or what have you, and maybe we hit 10 grams or 12 grams or plus kind of gold equivalency. But the gut sense is, the main veins really will continue to be, that Surebet Upper, the Surebet Lower, the Bonanza, and the Golden Gate. And again, Golden Gate is we just found that late in the season in 2023, 2 weeks before the program ended, and couldn't really expand on with additional holes just because the program pretty much timed out, and Mother Nature was creeping in on us with the colder temperatures and so on. So bottom line is, we'll continue to focus. We can get multiple veins with individual holes, so we've got the benefit of just the way the structures are sitting within the mountainside there, that it's possible. So it's going to be exponential for all of these veins, from one hole drilled. And obviously with the planning that we're putting together right now, we're still planning. We don't have a definitive meters yet, but we're getting there. There's been multiple iterations, but we expect to be drilling at least. I mean, right now we have enough money in the till for at least a significant program of about 12,000 meters. And if we're happy with what we're seeing, then we'll do the same thing we did last year. I mean, we started, I think the initial program was about 18,000 meters, ended up doing just over 35,000 meters. So possibly we'll see a very similar tack on our part way through the season.
Well, Roger, I think in previous episodes when we talked about the Surebet Zone and the Bonanza Shear Zone, and even we got down into the exciting find at the end of last season at the Golden Gate Zone, people are pretty excited about that Golden Gate down in the volcanics, and the Surebet and the Bonanza are a little bit more known entities at this point. But you did make that discovery, and we've talked about it a little bit so far in January. And I want to just dial in on it a little bit more, and that's at the Jackpot Zone. You mentioned it had some extra higher grade copper along with the gold. And when we saw your teams at both the MIF and the VRIC in January, I spent some time talking to a couple of your geologists, and they were just very excited about this Jackpot Zone. Maybe for people that are not as familiar with that press release you put out in January, why is your exploration team so excited about this kind of fourth area here? It kind of horizontal from the Golden Gate area of this Jackpot Zone.
Yeah, just the samples that we're taking are all they're all high grade. I mean, there's another 44 gram per ton gold equivalent, just over 5% copper. There's another one that ran just about 13.5 grams per ton gold equivalent with a bit of copper in there as well. And everything's got good copper numbers. And unfortunately there's so much overburden around there, but it does outcrop, and it's about 1 kilometer to the east of Pad A, which is just on the other side of the northeast trending fault there. So, and then tying in the Bonanza, dipping off to this area, if we can tie these two in this year, that would be pretty interesting. And then again, who knows? This may be part of the source of where all this mineralization came from. So that's, I think, probably the excitement that you may have seen and heard from them. So and I'm pretty jacked as well. It's going to be pretty interesting year for sure. We do have a couple pad locations that we can drill from. So we'll be drilling sort of 3-4 holes from there, depending on what we're seeing. And the bottom line is the ability to bob and weave where we can, and again maximize every meter that goes in to hopefully find something that's got sort of material characteristics to add to the entire project.
So, Roger, you've already been hitting high grades at a lot of these zones that you have defined over a couple years of drilling, but you keep circling back to potentially finding the source of all this gold. Is that the overall big picture goal for you here, where you have all these other areas to continue to expand on, but the big blue sky prize truly is finding even higher grade wherever it might have come from that fed these other zones and areas on the project?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly with what's been discovered to date is going to be a standalone on itself. But I guess to really have let's call it the exponential turbo kicker to valuation, if we do drill into a source, clearly it's a large area right now. We got 1.8 square kilometers. Just think about the engine, how big it must be to have made all this, pushed all this mineralization up through all these cracks through the mountain. You would think that it must be much larger, significantly much larger than, what we've currently found. So, yeah, I mean, that's obviously an objective this year, but at the same time, we need to fill in a lot of the areas on the mountain where we haven't not been able to drill from, which gets us closer to the higher grade zones that we're seeing, that we're not having to drill 700-meter holes where we can actually tap into that drilling. We'd be into it sort of around 200 meters plus kind of thing. And so we bring in some specialists that can build these highly engineered drill pads in a very steep area of the part of the mountain. And to date we've built pads where it's generally, I mean, it's difficult condition, but we've been able to manage to put quite a few pads on the side of the hill. But this is an area that really needs to be tested. And if you look at the drilling the cumulative drilling for the last 3 years, there's a gap between the valley floor and some of the next level elevation of drill pads. So we're going to be filling in those gaps in there. So I think it's going to help us tremendously, obviously with the modeling, adding potential tonnage. And then again, we can sink in some, 800-meter, 1,000-meter holes from there, go way down below the valley floor and just see what the heck's going on down there.
Yeah, Roger, I think a lot of people are watching with anticipation to see what some of those deeper holes below the valley floor may yield, in addition to just following up on the Golden Gate discovery at the end of last year and also the Jackpot Zone we just talked about. But if we widen the scope out on your land package even further, there's even more upside because you have some pretty exciting results the team got at the Cambria Icefields up north of the Golddigger Project. And you can see that from some of the channel cuts and some of the results that were put out at the Treasure Island target and also the full contact target. Again, when we were talking with the teams at the conferences in January, they were very excited about these. And I think they're leaning towards putting some drills in two of those targets up there. There's not just gold, but also copper. Maybe speak to us about some of these new discoveries up in the Cambria Icefields area.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, as you guys know, we significantly expanded our land package up to 66,000 hectares. We do control 56 kilometers of the red line, which obviously is important because all the main discoveries, the big discoveries, material discoveries, have been found within 3 kilometers of either side of this red line. And I guess the two main targets here, obviously Treasure Island, it's on trend with the old Porter, Idaho mine, which was making quite a bit of money back in the 20s and 30s. Obviously, a lot more copper rich. You can see it at surface. This is more of a VMS style type of mineralization. We took a channel cut there. It was just ran just over 28 grams per ton gold, almost 15% copper, and 15 out of the 16 channel cuts assayed 94% were greater than 1 gram per ton gold. Actually, in all the samples we took, all ran at least a minimum of 1 gram per ton gold. So clearly it's highly mineralized, never been drill tested before. We'll be the first ones doing that. And, we could have another potential material discovery, maiden drill program happening this year on that. And, it's quite large. It's 450 by 550 meters outcrop. Glaciers sitting all around it, and some really good looking, again, mineralization surface and channel cuts. And we've got a pretty good idea. We're going to be putting the drill there, probably, maybe a couple thousand meters and maybe more, depending on what comes out of it. And then the second one is our full contact showing, which is a 1.4 kilometer Gossan outcropping. And to me, when I look at this picture or image of it, if folks look, go to the PowerPoint presentation, I mean, if you look at a picture of Red Mountain and this, they're essentially it's a carbon copy. And that one there, I mean, we pulled a assay to sample that ran almost 3.25 ounces gold, not gold equivalent, but 3.25, which is pretty incredible stuff. And quite a bit of mineralization going on there. We got the sediments and the volcanics contact. Actually, the red line runs right through this thing. And that one there, we'll set up a pad and drill 1,000 meters or two, depending on how things go. We may add to that program, but bottom line is we're going to be spending money where we're going to get a return for the shareholders as far as building value. And if we're not seeing what we're like, then we'll call it a day, go back and retool and come back at it in the following year. But the plan is for success and have a game changer year for the company to get us to these valuations where I think we should be certainly trading at.
Yeah, well, some of this is true discovery drilling, since it would be the first ever time drill holes have been put into some of these targets. But then, Roger, the question is, with all of these targets on this Golddigger project, are they all similar, somewhat in nature, all along certain trends that you can carry over some of your past drilling to guide your future drilling at these undrilled areas, or these could be totally different systems that you're looking at?
I think it's somehow all related somehow. However, the stuff to the north, the showings up there, again, it's more of a VMS style type of mineralization, higher copper, et cetera, versus Surebet. We're getting more of a intrusive related type of system. So, and I guess, Colorado School of Mines think it's porphyry is the source. The aging suggests it with the other porphyries that you're seeing there, about 55 million years. So I think up to the north, we'll see until we drill it. We'll get obviously more information on it. And then, one thing we should mention is I know some people have been asking, is about our Lucky Strike property. We have an untested porphyry. That's down by Terrace, just slightly north, about a 10-minute helicopter ride north of Terrace. And so, we did drill this quite a few years back. We did hit a lot of sulfides. However, there wasn't economical kind of grades within the core. Like we had, I think, intercepted 360 meters of sulfides. But unfortunately, didn't have the numbers in there as far as the grade. However, it appears that we may have found the source, the center of this porphyry, which is untested, and we'll be drilling that this year, probably sometime starting in July. Quentin Henning actually was on the property last year, I guess it was, and wasn't really expecting too much. And, basically took a look at it, said, yeah, there it is, and pointed at it and said, well, that looks like it for sure. So he's actually pretty excited about that target as well. So, we've got the base, call it the flagship discovery at Surebet. And then now we've got, the two new targets to the north, two maiden drill programs, and then as well, the maiden drill program down at Lucky, where, testing this porphyry center, which again could be, another material discovery for the company.
Well, Roger, it sounds like it's going to be a big exploration year again in 2024. So when you get the plans totally mapped out, get back with us. We'll get you back on the show. We'll go through that together. And for those that are interested in following along with the news, or if you missed some of the news on some of these prior targets we discussed, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you over to the Goliath Resources website, to the news section. And Roger, as always, looking forward to our next conversation.
Yeah, great. Appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys.